Welcome to the Heather Penny podcast, where our goal is to help you reach your potential by increasing clarity, building confidence, and engaging courage. Dr. Heather Penny is a leadership coach, trusted advisor, and admired author. I'm Christina Morales, a writer and marketer, and Heather is my dear friend and my coach. So today we're going to explore part 2 in our marriage series, the marriage partnership, the long view. So so today we're going to talk about the love of a lifetime. And obviously, no one enters into a marriage expecting to get divorced, but unresolved issues, unexpected problems, even just the mundane aspects of life can wear us down. What are some common problems that you're seeing in marriages today, Heather?
Well, I think that the long view, I would say I'm about halfway through, so I don't know how much I can speak to the long view. I'm 27 years in, but I'm hoping to make it to 50 plus. So the very long view, I'd ask people who've been married happily for 50 plus years. But this idea that staying in love is a tremendous amount of pressure to put on each other. I'd like to say staying in friendship. Once I focused on what I really wanted, it wasn't to feel the butterflies that I felt at 23 or 18 when I first laid eyes on them. Yes, young love is wonderful and we miss it at times, but it's such an unrealistic expectation and standard to have throughout your whole marriage. So I think as young love grows and matures, I think what you get to start exploring is a deep friendship, creating a friendship with one of your favorite humans in the world. And I tell people that and I say, yeah, he's my favorite human. Yeah, but he's not always my favorite human. Let's be honest. I'm just saying I'm committed to him being my favorite human. And when he's not, we have the conversations we need to have. And it's either something I'm doing or he's doing, or we need to create a new pattern in our relationship. But I definitely want him to be my favorite human, and I want to be his favorite human. And when we're not getting that straight, I want to go to the table and say, how do we do this better?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because we've talked about self-talk before. And so sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, you are annoying me. Like, go away. Yeah. But then just changing my self-talk, he didn't do anything different, but I'm like, I'm choosing to love you. I'm choosing to see the good. It makes all the difference. What do you do on a daily basis to change your self-talk, to choose to be in love every day, to choose to pursue your friendship?
Oh, I love that you brought that up because, again, and going into a third decade of marriage here, it's so easy to make each other the target when we're tired or we're hungry. We're frustrated, and so with life or with what's going on or even just with each other. And so we start focusing on what we don't like. And it does create these false beliefs in our head. You've heard me talk about false beliefs and true beliefs. We can make false beliefs about one another that keep us limited. And one of the false beliefs in our relationship could be, you really annoy me and I'm tired of having you near me. Well, we can keep watering that every day. He's chewing his cereal too loud. He's leaving his coffee cup in the sink. He's, not doing what he said he would do when he would say pay this bill, or he didn't pick up the kids on time. All these things, then that false belief starts making us look for where he's annoying us. I think we will annoy each other, but I think as you reach for a true belief in your marriage, which is he's my best friend and I love him, and I'm looking at his coffee cup sitting in the sink after 20 days in a row, and yeah, I'm feeling it, but I'm going to go talk to him because he's my best friend and I want this to go well between us. And is this something that is important for me to bring up, or is this something I can let go? So you can see that whatever belief you're focusing on, your mindset in your marriage allows you to step into that conversation better. If I'm nurturing that false belief of he's really annoying me, well, yeah, I'm going to take the coffee cup in and slam it down and say, stop this, and get very mad at him. Or I'm going to go in and say, hey, sweetie, I know we want a deep friendship with each other, and this keeps happening. Do you think we could change this? And a lot of times he'll say, oh yeah, I could change that. Do you think you could stop leaving your toothpaste lid off? And I go, oh, glad you mentioned that. I didn't even notice I was doing that. So it then brings up what is giving each other a little bit of annoyance of living together, which is what happens. And I think learning how to have that true belief between you that says we get to be each other's best friend, we get to nurture a friendship versus we get to look for what it's annoying each other. And those are the couples that's miserable to be around. One of the things that Darren said early on in our marriage is, he goes, I want to be that couple that people love being around. And I thought that is a cool goal to have, because how many couples have you been around that you're awkwardly trying to get out of the argument or away from them, or they're snapping at each other, or they're rude to one another? It hurts. It literally hurts to watch. And you also just don't want to, the awkwardness of it, you don't want to be in the middle of it. And I thought, to be two people in this world that are inviting people into a conversation or their appreciation or their respect or their friendship, what a cool vision for marriage. So that's something he set out really early on. I always appreciated that. And I thought, yeah, I want that too. So having that vision out there for you both helps you, again, move toward what it is you're trying to create together. And it reminds you how to recenter and reset.
Mm-hmm. Our tagline for the end of our podcast is, you have to live intentionally, and you have to have your marriage. A healthy marriage is intentional. It doesn't just happen, because like you said, the cup, we want our friendship to be strong. Can you please put your cup? But our knee-jerk reaction is hateful. What's up? You think I'm the maid? And so we have to pause and recenter and say, okay, how do I want to be talked to? And that's how I'm going to talk to this person. It has to be very intentional, because the people we hurt the most are the ones within our four walls, because we wouldn't talk to anybody else this way.
No.
So it's very intentional.
Very intentional in how you talk to yourself too. A lot of times I'm mad at him, I'm mad at myself. I'm pushing myself too hard. I'm not keeping up with my day. The coffee cup is, I don't know why I keep bringing up this coffee cup. It's not an issue, but I'm trying to pick something that's really mundane and easy. So I keep reaching for the coffee cup, but, and I do like a clean kitchen. I guess that's probably what's it. But I think that sometimes I'll walk in and I'll look at maybe that coffee cup or that dirty kitchen, and I'll say, what is it you're really upset about? Well, I've just been working 5 hours straight and I'm tired. Well, ignore the kitchen. Go on a walk. Don't sit there and clean the kitchen and be mad, slam the dishes around because you're mad no one's listening to you. Do deal with it later. But right now, you are not in a good headspace to deal with anything or anyone. What do you need to fill up your own cup before you can step into this conversation with your family members?
That's so good. Like, looking at ourselves, it's true, because I could be so frustrated with, I'm overburdened, I'm overworked, or like, I know some people are at home and there's less stimulus around, or they could be an extrovert and they're not getting their cup filled in that aspect. And so we focus on all these little things that don't mean anything, but it's because of a different issue. So I love that you brought that up. And here's a crazy stat I found. The average length of a first marriage in the United States clocks in at 7 years. Most of those people get married for a second time, which also ends in divorce, because second marriages have a 60% chance of ending, and third marriages have a 73% chance of divorce. So why do you think that is? What's up with these stats?
Wow. I would say, of course, there's so much complexities in this because we're beautifully complex human beings. So I don't want to oversimplify it, but just hearing those stats, I would say we're not learning what we needed to learn in the first marriage. So it's carrying over into the second and then carrying over to the third. And I think I'm going to say this with all my fingers pointing back. There have been times when I thought, I can either look at what's happening and look at my role in this, or I can take the easy out and walk away and probably find someone else and find that new love again and feel really good for a while. What I began to realize, though, is you will have taken the cowardly way out, Heather. And I'm not saying this is the way for everybody, but this is what I had to talk to myself about. There are things I wanted to avoid about myself because I just didn't want to change, or it hurt too much to see that reflection in the mirror. I think as I began to see my husband as a teacher, and I began to realize that I also got to be a teacher to him, we got to be students of one another. So one of the most profound questions we can ask is, am I loving you well? And how can I love you well? How can I love you better? Sometimes I don't like the answer because it's going to make me rearrange my life, or it's going to make me deal with some broken issues within myself, or it's going to make me take notice that I've been living very selfish or self-absorbed. I don't want to get that feedback. So I think how we give feedback to one another and ask the right questions and have an even exchange of feedback and how we are both loving well and where we're hurting our loving. I think we see marriages as opportunity to make us better humans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once I started embracing that more, instead of asserting my will or getting my voice heard, all things that are important, you know, I'm always going to say it's a 50-50 relationship. And when that 50-50 breaks down and you're handing over too much power, or he's taking too much power, or he's handing over too much power and she's taking too much, who knows? When the power of the equity of power is off balance, you know, that's a different conversation. But we're going to take the conversation assuming that there's a 50-50 power balance here, and it's a functional, healthy marriage and relationship. I think what we get to do then is look at each other and say, how can I be a better human? You're the one that probably has the most insight on this because you live with me day to day, and I want to hear you. Please be kind, please be gentle, please be loving, but I want to hear you because I want to change, and then be able to offer the same. So I think that's a very sacred place to be in a marriage. And I think we all have something to learn from the people we choose to do life with, whether it's friends, whether it's family. But again, I want to remind you that when we choose a marriage, we are choosing to say vows to an individual, to love and to cherish. Well, I don't think many of us have a clue of what that means to truly love, but I think we have a lifetime to figure this out with another human being equally committed. What a sacred relationship that is. Doesn't mean we're always going to get it right all the time. It just means if you are 100% committed and I'm 100% committed and we're truly going to live out our vows, we're going to figure out what it looks like to learn whatever is blocking us loving each other better and really loving the world better and loving ourselves better. You know, there's times when marriage can give you such a beautiful gift of saying, well, I've always hated this about myself. And the spouse saying, I've never hated that about you. Or I completely forgive you. You get to forgive yourself. You talk about love at a much deeper level that goes beyond the young love. This is what we begin to learn that transforms us. So healthy marriages with healthy questions and healthy conversations and the commitment to step into this together. What a gift. We become better humans.
But is longevity always possible? You have an extraordinary husband. I have an extraordinary husband. They have incredible wives.
Right. They've got extraordinary wives.
Exactly. But not everybody, like, it's hard because I've had friends who are divorced, and sometimes they say we fell out of love, which,
right.
You know, I don't think that's a good enough reason. Or they've said he or she has changed. And I have seen some spouses who have changed, who are not working, who are not willing to work on the marriage. If one partner gives up and they're not willing to fight, or if something does change, they have, let's say they're an addict or they have other issues. How do we work around this? I mean, that's kind of the elephant in the room where we have to address. Sometimes the spouse isn't in a healthy place and they don't want to get in a healthy place. What does the other spouse do then?
Yeah, that's such a personal, sacred journey. And then I've talked with people on all levels and all sides of the continuum. I think if you always know you have an out, the main thing I always want to tell people is you're never trapped. So once you've grappled with that, you can now grapple with the fact you have any choice you want here. If you want out of this relationship, you can take it. Now let's talk about what that would cost you if you took this out. What will it cost you if you stay in? So I try and have this really objective conversation with people that says, you get to choose how much you want to be in, and if you have it in you, and if you think it's going to work. And I'm going to help you figure this out and get your clarity on it, get your confidence, and get your courage to act on it. And if you want to stay in, then that's going to take courage. If you need to leave, then that's going to take courage.
Yeah.
So the biggest piece is that individual has the permission to explore it without judgment, without shame, without guilt. What did I sign up for, and am I still in?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I like to meet people and say, yeah, let's talk about what you signed up for. Have the rules changed? Have they changed so dramatically that you can't stay in it? Or have they changed appropriately so that you have growing pains? I don't know which it
Wow.
is, but I want to help you have the permission to explore it. And you get to take the journey that is right for you.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to make sure that you're clear on it so that you know why you're staying in the marriage and how you're going to have it transform yourself and how you're going to be part of transforming. You also want to be clear of why you might be leaving the marriage so you don't take that baggage somewhere else. So these are all things that I just say, oh, so sacred, because it's really between them and God. My job is to gently be a guide on the outside that says, you get to find who you are in it. You get to find what you're being called to. You get to find how your values are being met or how they're being broken. And you get to redefine what is working. Once you start from there, I've seen people really have strong clarity. And typically what I've seen when I work with people more long-term, everybody wants the long-term one.
Yeah.
They want to grow old on the porch with their spouse in the rocking chair with the grandchildren around. That's everybody's ultimate dream.
Mm-hmm.
So once we recognize that, we recognize that there's this fear of losing it, and maybe they need to lose it and need to go find it with someone else because the marriage has gotten so toxic or abusive. But maybe this is growing pains, and you both are going to need to redefine the marriage and almost take new vows to one another. That is completely fresh and new and matching where the season that you're at. Or you need to just simply remember your vows. I need to love and cherish. For some reason, that's the only part of my vows I can really remember on a regular basis because I need it the most. I did take out to obey. I didn't like that part, but for the most part, we use the traditional vows, and I just thought those are sacred vows that I said to another human being, and I want to figure out how to honor that, because that's how I want to look at myself in the mirror at the end of the day and said I gave it my all. I didn't check out. On my deathbed, I want to say I gave it everything. Even if the marriage were to end, I can look at myself proudly and say I did everything I possibly could to save it, and I did my part. Fortunately, I'm blessed with a man who's saying the same thing. So no matter how hard it gets, we just kind of go to our corners and say, I will circle around with you later, but I do not have words right now. And if I try and talk now, neither of us will like what comes out of my mouth. But every marriage has their patterns of what it is that they're trying to push through. The more you can help yourself give your context. Is this just growing pains that's redefining your marriage? Well, then embrace it and go for it and be all in, because it is so worth it. But at the same hand, if it's something that you need to step away from, I understand that. I have no judgment on that. I just want to make sure that you know as an individual what it is that you are stepping away from and what you're stepping toward.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you say that it's a sacred relationship. It's not a complicated relationship.
Yeah.
Because when you say it's sacred, it puts it onto the relationship itself. When you say it's complicated, you're focusing on the issues and what surrounds it. And so it totally changes the perspective of how you address it, which is beautiful and amazing.
Well, one of the phrases that I began to realize I really resented is marriage is hard. Marriage is hard.
Yeah.
I was so sick of that phrase. It's like the terrible twos. Even as a mother, I go, they're the terrific twos.
Yeah.
But it's that mindset, it's that perspective, it's that false belief or true belief. I can either call my kid who's trying to individuate in a developmentally appropriate stage and he's learning the word no, I can call him the terrible twos, or I can say terrific twos. He's learning how to stand on his own. No matter how you look at it. But if you've already labeled it the terrible twos, guess what? It's going to be terrible. Same thing with marriage. If you've already labeled it marriage is hard, guess what? It's going to be hard. And I think there is hard spaces. I don't want to deny that. And I don't want to act like, oh, if you just think the right thing, everything will be fine. I'm not saying that at all. But I don't think I'm willing to keep making this agreement of marriage is hard. I just thought, I am so over that phrase. I can hardly stand it because I need something more hopeful to reach for.
Yeah.
So we literally changed the phrase and said, we want ease. Our marriage will be one of ease. And when it's hard, we both know we want ease, and we will say that in the middle of a conflict. We'll look at each other because neither of us like conflict. Neither of us like going at it. We like harmony. We like ease. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
remind each other, let's get through this so we can get back to our ease, because we both like ease in the relationship. We're not going to sit there and proclaim marriage is hard. It is intentional. It requires focus. It requires attention. That's probably what we mean when we say hard, if I want to give any respect to that phrase.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, if you keep making these agreements that marriage is hard, you're not making any space to say, it's been hard for the last 2 weeks here. How do we move into more ease?
Right.
How do we live the majority of our time in ease? And I think as we embrace that as a couple, we said, that's what we're always shooting for. And if we can't get there on their own, let's just go get a counselor. Let's go get a coach. Let's get someone we can talk to that says, hey, it's hard right now, and we want to get back to our ease. We want to get back to our friendship. We want to get back to laughing again. And that is a real strong point for me to recognize that it's starting to get a little hard when I can't remember the last time I've laughed with Darren, because we do have a lot of ease. We have a lot of humor. He does make me laugh. I make him laugh. And so we find life very humorous. And when we've been having too many serious talks, we've lost that humor. We've lost some of our friendship. We've lost some of that ease. We either go back and get it together and find it, and it can be very quick, or sometimes it's a process, and sometimes we do it on our own, and sometimes we involve a counselor to kind of help us sort it out. But for the most part, we're always shooting for, let's be a friendship with ease.
Mm-hmm. And you said that when you stop laughing, that's kind of a red flag. What are other red flags that we should be aware of? Because sometimes it just creeps up on us. Like life just continues, and these termites come in and we don't notice them because they're so small until there's actual damage. So what are some other red flags we should notice?
I think one that we've talked about a lot is micro digs. And I think that's what people in marriages, and I would say any relationship, parenting, marriages, friendships, family members, we do these little micro digs, and it could be as a nonverbal rolling of the eyes.
Okay.
It could be, that's the dumbest idea. Or it could be this smirk on, well, I'm not sure I like that. It could be any of these little micro digs, or you're going to wear that today. And there's a way we show up in our spirit and our relationship that sometimes it's so micro that people won't confront it in the moment because they don't know what just happened. But learning how to see the micro digs and take responsibility for those, as well as calling people on it, that's what we're learning quite a bit in our whole family, all four of us. I don't want to be someone who does a micro dig, and I do this. It's a passive aggressive behavior because I don't want to say what I really want to say, and I'm afraid it won't get received, and I really don't want to take the effort to unpack it. So I'm just going to give a little flick, and it could be, let's go use the coffee cup again. The coffee cup in the sink that keeps getting piled up in there. After 3 days, there's 3 coffee cups. I can slam it in the dishwasher, or I could hold it up and look at him and go, seriously, and put it in the dishwasher and stomp off. These are little micro digs that just communicate, I'm not okay with this, and I'm going to let you know this, and I'm not going to handle it appropriately or healthy. I'm going to do it in a way that's actually destructive, and it's going to start undermining the respect and the love that we want to have and grow between us. So I would say micro digs are probably the most serious ones, and it's something we pay a lot of attention to. And I think personally, I try and take a lot of responsibility for. I'm starting to feel like I want to do that micro dig, or I just did one, and I need to come circle back around. And I did it a couple days ago. I was annoyed because he kept walking in the room. I wanted the space to myself, COVID, blah, 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 we're boundaries.
Right.
And I looked at him and I go, again, seriously? And I was kind of half kidding, and I could easily have played it off with, I was just kidding.
Right.
I wasn't really. I was annoyed that he was walking in the bedroom for the 3rd time after 10 minutes when I was trying to get some space to myself. I need to be able to handle that with love and care and just say, hey, I'm going to need some space to myself. I'm going to go in this room, or I'd like to shut the door here, or I just want an hour on my own. I don't want to be asked about dinner or anything else. I just need a little space. I didn't want to take the time or the care to do that, so it was easier just to throw a micro dig. So again, I circled around and I owned it and I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I don't want to say that. What I'm realizing is I think I need an hour off between work and family. I'm starting to feel overwhelmed when I walk straight from work to family. And since the commute is very short from my office to the kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
I need a little space. So what we realized is usually as soon as I finish work, I just go out and take a walk. It just gives me a little breather to transition, where most of us have to commute home or get in our car and drive home. We have a little bit of that boundary or that space.
Yeah.
I just needed that. And instead of handling it better in the moment, I gave a micro dig.
If the other person does a micro dig, how do you confront that? Do you say, well, that's a little micro dig there? I mean, do you call attention to it?
Yeah, we like to do what we check it.
Okay.
The more you stay curious, because sometimes, because they're so micro, sometimes you're really off, and he has been off, and I go, what? I remember one time I opened the dishwasher because I was trying to let it air dry, and I ran off to work, and he thought I was telling him indirectly, I'm opening this dishwasher for you to empty in it, and I'm not going to. Oh my goodness. It was so far off, and I'm so glad he checked it with me. And he said, I need to check something with you. Did you open this dishwasher expecting me to empty it? And I go, huh? No, I'm trying to let it dry, and I didn't have time to empty it, and I had to go off to work. So I think learning how to check it. If we move straight into that was a micro dig, we're moving into accusation. And it already then puts the other person on the defense, because they may have done it intentionally, or they may not have done it intentionally, or it might not even be a micro dig. We don't know. So I always tell people, stay curious and just say, I need to check this with you. What can be crazy making is if they keep saying that wasn't a micro dig and it totally was. That's when we have a bigger problem. But let's just assume that each of you are being honest and you're saying this self-awareness and you have this agreement. Yeah, neither of us want to do micro digs. If I hadn't gone and apologized to him, he would have had the right to call me on it, and I would have said, yeah, you're right. You're right. That was a micro dig, and I'm sorry. I'm just feeling frustrated that I can't get my own space. I'll do better, and I'll say this next time. Then I own that piece. So I think how we learn the value of, we're not going to do micro digs here, or I call them little flicks, little flicks at people. Yeah. We're not going to do micro digs, and we get to check them.
And there are some things that we can't change in our partner. Like we think, oh, I can change that. Or like back to the coffee cup. What if he never puts the coffee cup in the dishwasher? Like, how do you accept something in their actions or attitudes that we just can't change?
Yeah, you have to decide how important it is to you. In that marriage, we've heard marriage is compromise. It's a nice little cliche we say all the time. I do think there's things where you want to say, this is really important to me. I'm tired of walking into a dirty kitchen, a dirty sink, and I've got 30 minutes for my lunch break and I have to clean up everyone else's stuff. And this may or may not be an issue in our home, but I've had to talk about, and because again of COVID and everyone's home again, the dishes have just multiplied. They're breeding because everybody's home using them. Right. Whereas before we had people traveling, we had all this other stuff. So I think you do get to stop and say, listen, this is really important to me, and I need you all to hear me on this. But then that's when you give a really focused space to do that. So if it's really important to you, I would say then give it the attention and the space, the importance that it needs. Don't just say it as you're flying out the door. So, I remember this was happening, and I was frustrated because it was just kept piling up, and I hate dirty kitchens. So it's my thing, but I don't want to control everybody else doing it. However, we are all living together, and I also feel like it's my mothering duty to train my children how to clean up after themselves. So all of these things are at play. Yeah. And then of course it's the marriage. I don't want to mother him. So I think the kindest, most compassionate thing I can do to myself and the people I'm living with is, I remember coming to the table and just sitting down saying, listen, guys, there's something that I really need to talk with you about that's important to me. And it's important to me, and it really will make me feel, this love, that you love me and you care for me if you can follow through with this. And as I brought that to the table, it was really cool because they all just said, oh, Mom, we didn't realize we were doing that. We totally want to do that. And then of course my husband, as we've agreed upon being a united front, he rallied in and said, yes, I can model that as the other adult in the home. But then it opened up some other stuff that the kids wanted to talk about and whatever one wanted to talk about. So you have to be prepared to hear some of that. And I got to hear some nice little feedback from my teenagers of, I was over helping them in some areas, particularly my son. And I just listened to that and said, okay, that my intent was to help you with that, but I can see that that wasn't helping. So, I think you get to have these honest relationships and these honest conversations of what is helping you and what is hurting you, and be able to give and receive to one another. Where it can get dangerous is if it's only one person. Like if the mother or the wife is always saying, here's what I don't like, here's what you're doing wrong, here's what will make me feel loved, that becomes almost a controlling measure in the home. And I've seen this happen with a lot of women, that it's them trying to get control in their personal life, and they're not feeling control in their own personal life. So it's starting to eke out in the home. When I coach these women, I want to say, I've never heard one woman say, I really want to be a nagging wife and a nagging mother. I've never heard them say that, right? And all of us are like, oh, I can hear what I just gave 10 negatives, and it's only, 9 a.m. in the morning to my family. Like, I can hear myself and I don't like it. I think that what I try and help women see is, okay, this is something you want to pay attention to yourself. And I don't mean to make this even just about women. I've seen it with men too. I want to say, oh, you're very angry at your family. I understand. There's probably some things they're doing that you want to talk to them about. But there's also probably some things in your life that you're feeling out of control in and you're really angry about. Let's see if we can identify those and get your clarity there. That way you don't bring everything to the marriage or everything to the family or the people you're living with and dump it on them. You want to gently separate out and say, okay, yeah, I'm feeling out of control with my job. I'm having to work from home. I don't have clear boundaries. I'm not speaking up about what I need because I don't even know what I need. I'm just trying to survive day to day, and my family's suffering from it. That's where you kind of do that reset button and say, here's what I'm struggling with. Here's what I'm going to need. And here's what I want to talk about it in the family. Now I want to hear what it is that you're struggling with and what you need. And how can we create a synergistic partnership?
That's awesome. That is so helpful. I mean, I love, like I always say, you give us tools to actually bring into our home to create healthy relationships. So, and that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, Heather. I know, it goes by
so quick, doesn't
you
it?
say that every time. It goes by so fast because it does.
It does. It sure does.
So join us next week when we talk about the marriage partnership, the baggage we bring into it, because we all bring our ugly into it.
Yep, we sure do. Even when we think we don't, we do. I'll just tell you, I've worked with enough people to say we have that baggage. We might as well know it and own it. Get clarity on our baggage, huh?
Yes, and let's unpack it and get rid of it so we can move forward.
Yes.
So please subscribe to the Heather Penny podcast. For questions, comments, and resources, visit heatherpenny.com. Remember, to live your best life, you have to live intentionally. Have a great day. We can't wait for you to join us next week. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.